Hello and welcome to my artisanal living playlist on my YouTube channel. I'm Marie-Nicole for those of you who don't know me. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about the change of season. I've been going through so many shifts and changes in my season of life and actual season. And I just thought today's topic would be better suited to discussing that. What do we do when we go through these periods where we're neither here nor there, we're somewhere in between, but we are, and we're ready for the next thing, but we don't want to rush to the next thing. We still want to live in the moment of what is and actually enjoy it, but being careful not to actually get too comfortable and hold ourselves back from growing. If you've listened to one of my videos before, you're probably aware that where I am living is a property that we're selling, and I have been in the process of preparing to move, which has also been a strange reality because it's not knowing exactly when or where. It's been more of a responsive way, leaning into the unknown kind of approach to living. And so I've got this big season of change coming up that I'm excited about, but also nervous about because I will, for the first time, be completely independent. When I do move out of this place, I'll probably do so on my own, with my youngest son moving in with his brother, and now being a single mum in the last 3 years, which I hadn't planned or prepared for over the 24 years that I was married. But that is a reality that I'm currently faced with. And so there has been a lot of internal processing on what this will look like going forward. And I'm excited for the new adventures that lie ahead. But then I also love this place that we bought 10 years ago and raised our children here, and lived off the land and just growing our own food and making our own preserves and raising our own meat birds, and just the lifestyle was really a beautiful lifestyle. So, and having my studio shed, which I today actually set up a new space, a new little nook to film my videos, or just to change the scenes. And I just decided, well, it's time to rearrange a little bit. Even though I'm going to be moving out of here, I still love this studio shed. And over winter, it can be very cold out here. I do work out here over winter, and I have a little fireplace, but I haven't been working out here as much in the last few weeks. With all the adjustments that I'm navigating my way through, I haven't really worked out here as much. I've been more working in my Zen den. And so today I decided, nope, I need to come out here and I need to set up a little nook where I can sit here in the comfort of my grandpa chair and share this journey with you, because I haven't done a video for the artisanal playlist for a few weeks with my father's funeral and being away and all that's been going on. So the other day I was having a conversation with my eldest son, and we were talking about moving into the next phase and not rushing towards it, and still actually being present in the moment and doing what we can to embody what we're looking forward to enjoying once we get there, because we don't want to overlook the beauty of what is now because we're racing towards that next thing. So part of that was, I was saying to him, I am really looking forward to the freedom and the ability to go on more adventures. I've always been adventurous, and I used to travel to trade and with family in tow, and we'd go away for a whole weekend and take my artisanal wares somewhere within the state and just meet new people and other artisans and meet customers in person, which was so nice to do rather than just having all my interactions online through my online store, which did very well. My Etsy store sold globally, and I had some beautiful repeat customers that I never got to meet in person because they were overseas. And so it's always really lovely to go to these festivals and markets and trade in person. But that fueled my adventurous spirit. I always had a gypsy spirit. But that didn't actually serve the family long term, because we had bought this property and we wanted to live off this land, and with everybody else being in town during the week and me being here working from my studio shed, during the week, and me wanting to get out and meet other people and go on these adventures meant that our weekends ended up being consumed with that kind of thing. And so I let go of that, and instead I opened up a commercial space in town, and I too worked mostly during the week in town and traded my wares and sold on behalf of 20 plus designers and makers from our region and beyond, and spent Saturday mornings trading in there, but then Saturday afternoon and Sunday was time to be on the property with the family. But it also meant I didn't get to travel as much as I used to. And so I'm really looking forward to that coming back into my reality. Maybe not traveling to trade, but just traveling in general, exploring beyond my local government area and even going overseas again. So that I'm excited about, but I'm not in the position just yet to be doing that. I still have a lot of things to finalize here and prepare to actually move out. So, how can I actually create that feeling, that embodiment of adventure without actually having to leave my property? And that's what I was talking to my eldest son about. And I was saying, I'm doing things like exploring the property in different ways to what I have previously. I'm treating my work like an adventure. And by setting up this new nook and a new location to capture content in, I've created that experience of change and something new and exciting. And so when I work out here in the shed, and then I work in the Zen den inside the cottage, or I work by the fireplace, and or I work on the veranda. I have two beautiful verandas that when the weather's right, I can work on either one of those. By doing that, I'm creating this sense of change and excitement, and just a shift in energy, even without leaving the property. And so that's been a really magical way to stay present in what is the beauty of this location, not racing and wishing towards what will be next in that next season. Now, in terms of the actual season, I love winter and I love fires, but I do get to the end of winter and all I want is for spring to be here. And I just want to sit in the sunshine like a lizard and just bask in the sun, which I have done occasionally when the winter sun has been out long enough to enjoy it, because we have very foggy, frosty mornings, and sometimes the fog doesn't lift until 1 o'clock in the afternoon over winter, and then the sun sets by 5 o'clock. So it really is only a few hours of beautiful sunshine. But in these last few weeks, well, when I went to Queensland to organise my father's funeral, which is a tropical climate, it was still winter and it still wasn't as hot as it normally gets up there, but it was warmer than here. And I was able to wear my linens, and I wore my boots. I didn't expect to need to wear boots up there. I thought I'd be wearing my leather slides the whole time, but I did have to wear my boots at times because it was still cool. But I was able to just get around in lightweight linens for the most part. And so coming back here to being layered up again in all of my wool layers and my boots and my socks, and just constantly needing to keep the fire going and stay warm, it was a really big shock to my system to do that. So the last couple of weeks, I have tried to just will on spring and wish away winter. And I've been wearing more of my lightweight linens and wearing my leather slides and sitting there. And I've been doing a lot of coaching, which means that I am sitting at a desk. I'm not necessarily moving in the Zen den, where the sun doesn't actually hit those windows until about midday. And so when I'm coaching out there in the morning and I'm sitting there with bare feet and it's freezing, just going, this is not ideal. I'm actually doing myself a disservice, and I really should not be wishing on spring and overlooking the beauty of winter. So there have been days where I've set myself up again in the lounge room by the fireplace just to absorb the warmth of the fire, which if there's no sun, then the warmth of the fire is the next best thing. No heater for me can replace the warmth of a fire. And so I've been, wearing my linens. And then this morning I decided I'm coming out into the shed. It's usually warm out here in the morning because the sun comes in through the doors on the eastern side, and the actual aluminium heats up. But it's still winter. So, the cement floor is still very cold. And I had my linen pants on with split sides, and I was moving around and I was shifting furniture, and that was fine. And then I decided to sit down and record this, and the breeze picked up and the sun disappeared, and I was like, come on, reality. It is still winter. So I went and put my cargos back on, and I'm still here in lightweight clothing, but it is just that whole thing of, we've got to actually be real sometimes and do what actually serves us well rather than trying to pretend that the conditions are different to what they are. And while it's still sunny outside, I'm not feeling the sun in here. But at least I am able to start wearing those lighter layers again, because that is also that feeling of the weight of winter just dropping away, and feeling that lightness and ability to see, pushing through the heavy weight of the soil to reach up to the sunlight and open up those new leaves. That to me is what it's like to let go of those winter layers and be wearing lightweight linens throughout the spring, summer season. And then towards the end of summer, I, of course, am getting ready for autumn and looking forward to rugging up in front of a fire again. But that's the beauty of all of the seasons, and the same with our seasons of life. Now, I was thinking about the fact that I am soon going to be an empty nester and have two independent young men who will still need me in some ways, but not be fully dependent on me. With my younger son about to get his provisional license and be able to drive himself around, that's a really big shift in the reality of my season of life. For the last 23 years, I have had children dependent on me. And so to suddenly have that time where they're not dependent, that is a really big shift. Aside from the fact I've become a single mum 3 years ago, that was a big shift in reality. But to become actually independent and once again, that is a massive change. And I think that it is not something we can necessarily prepare for. It is something we need to just lean into and embrace and discover what is unknown in that reality. We get so used to our lifestyle and our commitments, then to suddenly have that shift is we can't know what it's going to feel like until it's actually our reality. And so that's the beauty of growth and expansion and leaning into and accepting change, is it allows us to grow and expand. And I'm really looking forward to that opportunity to discover a way of being that I could not have planned for, could not have foreseen, could not have even known what that is like. And I believe that we as a society try too hard to actually control our existence and everything around us, and work towards outcomes that are known. We miss out on the magic of discovery if we are too expectant on what will be. And that, in terms of creativity, we can have a concept for what we want to create, but it's through the exploration and the implementation of the skills that we've acquired that we actually discover the final piece that we could not have known was going to be exactly the way that we planned, because we might along the way discover a one of the techniques that we would normally use didn't quite work for this particular project, and change and adapt it. Life is the same. It is not a loss having our children leave our nest. That is a part of our journey as parents, is to raise adults, not to raise children. We are raising young, independent, capable adults to contribute to the collective. And I guess you could say the same for us. We're growing into maturity. And so we cannot expect everything to remain the same. Or, in saying that, I am all about maintaining youthfulness and that childlike wonder and curiosity and actually exploring and discovering. That is definitely the way that I love to live my life and will continue to live into my old age. And I was thinking about that in terms of the changes in technology and the advancement in technology, and how it does reach a point where we feel like, oh, this is just moving so fast. This was so different to my childhood. And as a coach, I experience that a lot in, especially coaching in the digital solutions program. And I meet a lot of especially older women coming in who have been mothers, and some of them have maintained businesses throughout their motherhood as well. But some have decided to start a business, and everything has just changed since they were in school or even pre-motherhood. But the other day, I was actually coaching a lady who was in her late 70s. And she is a mother as well, and she had been operating businesses her entire life. And she was so on top of technology. It was just inspiring, even though she did say it's all moving very quickly and it's all going quite fast these days. She was still considering the growth of her business well into her stepping out of the business. Like, she's preparing for her to step aside, but putting in the foundations in place for it to continue to create that ongoing legacy, not necessarily her legacy, but for her community. Her intention was to create something that supported youth going forward, because she is in a country town and she saw a need for the youth to maintain not only their connection to their roots and be able to stay in their country town if they want to, but keep moving forward with the progress of technology. So she was upgrading all of her equipment and her software to take her business forward and to create a new business model that will be able to carry it forward for many years to come. And to me, that was very inspiring, because on the other hand, I speak to people on a regular basis through my coaching in the digital solutions program who say, I just don't want to get into social media. It's not something I am interested in. It's too overwhelming for me. And they're only in their late 40s. And they still could potentially have another 25 years ahead of them if they want to keep working in their businesses, or even 30 years. If we don't sustain our ability to at least keep up with the changes in our next season of life, then we end up losing our ability to move forward with the times. And I think about that in terms of that is a part of our growth and expansion, to take on challenges that take us out of our comfort zone. And technology at the moment is that in our society. It is actually not just trying to stay away from it and I just don't want to go there, but working with it to a point. You don't need to be a software engineer in order to keep up, but just to sustain some kind of connection with what's going on. And going into this next season of my life and creating and sustaining my income stream as I continue to move around and find the next place to lay down my roots, it is really important that I maintain my connection through the digital space with the community that I foster. And so I am not saying everybody needs to do that. I just see that that is becoming more of the norm, because as a society, we are no longer raising our children and staying in the one place for our entire lifetime. We're actually, most families are dispersed across the world, or at least across the state. And so there's going to be a need for that continual ability to stay connected. Now, my father, who just recently passed away, was 80 years old, and he stayed pretty connected to technology until maybe about, I don't know, mid 60s to getting close to 70. He started to then just start, it was becoming too overwhelming for him. Using a computer was something he didn't do, and it was quite challenging towards the end of his time. Even though he was physically fit and capable and was still living very independently, and he had his system set up to support him in doing what he needed to sustain his living. He actually paid his own bills and he stayed on top of everything, but he did find it very difficult to communicate with us from a distance and utilize his phone. He didn't want a smartphone. He just got a press button phone in the end, and it was very hard to talk to him over the phone about how to resolve the challenges he was having with his phone. And we live 13, 14 hours apart. And so has made me consider that going forward, having children who are becoming independent and moving on myself, living solo, I don't want to lose the ability to communicate with my children. If they decide to move overseas and I'm still here in Australia, I do want to be able to sustain that connection. And that's just with my children, let alone with my source of income and through the internet. So, in this next season, even though I'm excited about the exploration and discovery, I'm also very aware of what needs to be put in place in terms of foundations for me to sustain that excitement to keep going and learning and trying new things, and to get to my later years feeling like I am capable, like the 78-year-old lady that I was coaching the other day, helping her with understanding which software to move her physical bricks and mortar store to, so that she can set up her online. She had set up an online store, but she hadn't changed the software internally in the bricks and mortar store to be able to support that. And so we were discussing these types of things, and even how to be able to train her staff who are in their 50s, but train her staff to keep up with the technology, so that when they do get to that next stage of bringing the youth in and training them, it is technology that the youth understands. So, I mean, what a great problem to have at 78. And I think about 78, talking to my father, and while he was physically fit and capable, in terms of technology, he did not keep up. It was very challenging to have conversations with him about the things that were going wrong with just his phone, let alone having a business that you're still running at 78, which this lady was, and was such an inspiration. And so I guess the reason I'm bringing this into this space is because our artisanal living ways is really about staying curious, exploring, trying new things, and that connection to our handcrafting, which this lady's business also had a connection to handcrafting. So it's not all about technology. I'm not trying to say that technology is the only way forward. What I actually am saying is that our ability to keep learning and growing and trying new things, both with our physical hands and with our digital connections and experiences, is what is going to keep us balanced and stimulated. So as a coach, I am passionate not only about maintaining our digital presence and ability in the digital space, but also sustaining our physical health and well-being and capability. In my coaching with working with business owners who are looking after their own health and well-being as well as their business, I like to operate in a cyclical manner and work with people through the phases of the moon cycle, which is what I do for myself. And sustaining health and well-being has been so important over the last 3 years, because I don't get to just have somebody take over for me when things need to be done. There's no one else here other than my son right now. And that's actually a really magical thing, because it has brought about that ability for me to really tune in to what is supportive and what is no longer supportive for me personally, so that I can continue to sustain this lifestyle that I love, and can sustain the physical ability and the mental and emotional capacity to process all of the changes that have been taking place in my life, and actually still be excited about what's to come. So if you feel like you could do with support in that area, I am available as a coach to work with you. So reach out for a connection call, and let's see what magic that we can unfold together. The whole intention with my coaching that I offer through my business is for you to connect with your inner essence and let that be your outer expression. And when you understand your unique makeup, your actual energetic makeup, and the practices that support you sustaining your well-being, then you actually get to live a life that is more enjoyable, more not so much effortless as in not having to do anything and just sitting around and have things come to you, but effortless in terms of creating less resistance and actually enjoying the things that other people might consider mundane, but it aligns with who you are and what you're about. And so it's finding your unique way of moving through the world and operating in a way that enables you to cover all the bases of your business activities without feeling drained, without feeling like you just have to do things. You're actually getting to set up systems and support yourself through doing what you absolutely love and connecting and serving those that you're here to serve with your business operation. So, if you are an artisan and you do this as more of a hobby and you would like to turn it into a more serious income stream, but you are a little concerned that you may lose yourself in the process or be overwhelmed by all of the elements of running a business, then I can help you with that with my coaching too. So be sure to reach out if that is something you feel like you need. So thank you for staying with me as I've unpacked this idea of working towards the next season while still being present in the current season. I look forward to connecting with you again in the next video, and until then, wish you a magical day.